Morning all, welcome back to my Bountiful Acre. My name's Sue. If you're new around here, welcome along. Today I'm just going to be having a quick look around the greenhouse at things that I've been doing this week, and I'll show you the footage that I took while I was doing the jobs. It's nothing major, to be honest. Everything's sort of winding down now. I still have things like hedge cutting and a few things to plant, but I've been transplanting things, taking cuttings, and I'll show you how I did that. Earlier in the week I put my clematis and honeysuckle in bigger pots because I'm not going to plant them out at this time of year. The ground is veering between freezing cold and soggy, so I thought I'd wait until spring and just give them a little bit of extra sustenance in the meantime. I've still got my pots of tulips and things in the greenhouse. The weather just doesn't really know what it's doing. So quick update. So my onions are sprouting. The snowball went in about 2 weeks before the red and yellow ones. I'm going to try and keep them relatively dry. The ones in the raised bed outside are getting soaked on a daily basis. As you can see here, the larkspur that we transplanted about 3 or 4 weeks ago is still growing. I thought they might stop, but it's been so mild. We're still in double figures and it is now December. These are the feather top grasses that we transplanted, still expiring. Might leave the lid off today actually because it is quite warm. These are the cornflowers, the purple cornflowers. They're also shedding a little bit of water. I'm not watering anything at the minute. I'm just trying to keep the cold off as best I can. The foxgloves that I transplanted first have also grown. The little ones I did couple of weeks ago have grown, but not as big. The sweet peas, on the other hand, so you see it's sort of 10 degrees during the day, 8 to 10 degrees, but the nighttime temperatures are sometimes dropping below freezing. We have had -4 or 5, so I'm amazed that they are actually still growing. These are the Nigella. These are spare apple blossom snapdragons, which were tiny, so they've grown. These are the snapdragons that I actually moved on. They have grown a little bit. They've got slightly taller, but not very bushy. And I've still got this amount of foxgloves to do. And the plants that I brought in are still thriving. They've not died anyway. So these are the crocus that I put in. Some of them were already sprouting when I planted them, so I'm quite surprised they've actually done anything, to be honest. The garlic I planted a couple of weeks ago is coming up in places. This is the side I did first. The other side, I don't think we've got any evidence yet. I bought in an extra shard plant. I dug it up out of the outside border just to give it an extra bit of protection. The ones outside are still doing fine, to be fair, and the kale plants seem to be okay. They haven't wilted, but they haven't put on much growth either. I did have a little bit of a tidy up, but you probably can't tell. But I tidied this up a bit because it was getting really messy. This is the first raised bed we built, which you may remember if you're a regular viewer. It is full now and things have grown. This is my garlic. As you can see, that's put on a lot of growth, and I've kept it covered to try and keep some of the water off more than anything. So there is one elephant garlic up just here. This is just some wool insulation. As you can see, I've pulled up some of the soggy lettuce that got frozen. The spicy mix is actually still okay, and it hasn't lost its quality as yet. As I say, I took one of these shard indoors. They are still doing okay, and the Mabuna is still doing fantastically well, as is the kale. The pak choi actually is still fine despite the fact that it got frozen, and we have eaten a few of them, as you can see. And we've got some Bonnie's just drinking the puddles. We have got some French breakfast radish done. The spinach is still growing. It is a cold hardy crop, so it's doing okay. It's not as tender as it was before. As you know, this is the area that's flooded, but the onions are doing brilliantly. I do need to hoe this green moss off the top because it is still damp despite the cover. I had a little bit of a tidy up when the weather allowed. Got rid of some of the plants that were lying around here. This is my next tidying up job. I've got to dig out some of these strawberries. They're old ones. I'm not even sure what that is growing in the middle. probably a bog plant description, but all of these taller bushes are blackcurrant, so they need a bit of a prune, although they're looking really good. They've got really good buds on them, but I need to cut out any dead or diseased wood or really old wood. Although, to be fair, they're doing quite well here. They're only raised up by one plank sort of height, so they obviously don't mind the wet. There is a gooseberry over there as well, so I need to just give this a general tidy up. This has become a bit of a dumping ground, but as I say, this whole area I was considering making into a fruit cage. My leeks are still doing okay. I've cut back the chives, I've pulled out the zinnias. Yes, so it's a nice sunny day today. I think today and tomorrow, so it's Tuesday and Wednesday, are supposed to be sunny. The rest of the week, I think more rain. I'll take you up the top of the garden and show you the pond. What are you up to? Don't get filthy. Bella's had a bath and a haircut. Bonnie not as yet, which is why she's a bit beige. We finally got rid of all the tomato pots as well. We had a little tidy up at the weekend. Must buy myself some sort of bin storage. They're just ugly, aren't they? This grass is still doing amazingly well, isn't it? When I actually put this border in, I'm going to put some of that in, intermingled with some alliums and things. Yeah, they're strappy leafed, whatever they are. Iris, I think, are still doing well. Nothing seems to have died as yet, I don't think. Yeah, the choicea is still going. The hooker is looking okay. The squirrels have been back, look, burying things or attempting to bury things. I still need to go and get some more bark mulch, and because of the cost of delivery of the big bags, I think by the time you add the delivery costs in, it's probably just as cheap to buy little bags. So I might go and get a few bags from the garden centre today. Might even take you along with me. As you can see, the pond does have water in it still. After that first time I showed you it had filled up, 4 days later it was back down. I'll put a shot in here for you. Yeah, and then we had more rain, and then it filled up again, and it actually overflowed the side, and it's lifted the gravel bit that was there for the ducks not to slip on. And this was full of water too. But it has cleared the water, at least. You can actually see the bottom now. But there obviously is a leak, because it went down so dramatically 4 days after Storm Claudia that I couldn't quite believe that the ground could take any more water. One of the seeds I sowed this week was off this bog plant. I don't know what it is. I will look up the name for you. It's obviously quite dramatic and big, isn't it? Yesterday, I had a little wander up the garden to look at the pond and discovered these seeds. So I'm thinking, with all this moisture I've got, they're a bog plant slash sort of marginal plant of a pond, that they might actually grow quite well in the ground over by this old greenhouse or falling down shed. I also did a little bit of research on plants that don't mind being waterlogged in the winter. Willow, unsurprisingly I suppose, grows against riverbanks and stuff. So those willow sticks that I showed you, I think I might plant them behind the falling down shed, because that's the wettest part of the garden. And I'd be able to coppice it and use it for willow making. I've cut one open and there isn't extra seeds inside. I think that is the actual seed. So I moistened the compost first, so I'm just going to top it up with compost. I'm not putting any grit in because, as I say, they're bog plants, so fingers crossed they actually grow. This, when it had a leaf on, I did a little Google sort of identity thing, and it claimed to be a walnut tree, but I'm not convinced that it's even alive, to be honest. I love how the light comes through those trees and the greenhouse, isn't it fabulous? I think what I'm going to do is finish my coffee. And then I'm gonna, before I get completely filthy messing about in the garden, I'm gonna head on over to Bridgemere Garden Centre. I will take you with me and give you a little sneaky look around if you haven't been. It's a beautiful place. They've got fabulous gardens that you can visit as well. I won't be doing that today. I suspect it's going to be quite busy being so close to Christmas. But I just need a few little bits. I need some grit and some vermiculite and bark mulch if they've got it. And just have a look round. I can't resist a garden centre, especially at Christmas when all the decorations are up. So I'll take you with me, show you around there for a minute. Well, here we are at Bridgemere Garden World. Let's see what's available. Here's something that's caught my eye. That is a woodland plant. £12.99, full or partial shade. They have beautiful spires on. That would look really nice. Oh, what's this one? Spring Symphony with white flowers. That's really pretty, isn't it? Oh, that's pretty little spurge. Euphorbia, as they're better known. I wonder if that one is suitable for woodland. Little treasure. Full sun or partial shade. There's still a lot of plants here, considering it's winter. Rhododendrons galore. Wow, it's a jasmine. How amazing. Beautiful red leaves on it. Very fragrant, born in midsummer. Dark, shiny leaves, slow growing evergreen climber. Height and spread 70 feet by 8. That's fabulous. How much are they wanting for that? £180. But if it's slow growing, that's taken a while to get that size, eh? Lots of skimmia, lots of heuchera, lots of Christmas trees and bay trees looking lovely. I do like a heuchera, as you know. This dark, dark purple, as you know, I'm a lover of purple. That is catching the light beautifully, isn't it? Look at that, isn't that spectacular? Oh, these seed packets are calling me for some reason. Oh dear. I might just have to buy 6 packets, eh? Definitely need some sunflowers. Let's see. Vanilla ice. And some tagetes I need for the vegetable garden. What colour? Shall I go strawberry blonde or tangerine gem? I don't think I need any more sweet peas, do I? Every year I buy a new decoration, but they're starting to get a little bit too tasteful for my liking, so I need something with a bit of glitter. What shall we go for? Maybe this one's most appropriate. Well, I am now back from Bridgemere Garden World, and I'll just show you what I got. I did pick up that Tiarella Spring Symphony, which is for the woodland. And yeah, the Christmas bauble I got was probably not as sparkly as I was intending, but it has got a bit of glitter on it, eh? So not too boring. I did get up some bulbs. I know I probably don't need more bulbs, but they were 75% off. So it's well worth looking in garden centres now if you haven't bought bulbs, because they are doing deals. So instead of £5.99 for 50, I think it was £1.99. So a bit of a bargain. I also got some more shallots, Red Sun, because I'm hoping to make some pickled onions. So I've got somewhere I need to put those. I've got some Gladioli Byzantinus or something like that. Winter hardy gladies, good for pollinators it says. 30 bulbs in a pack. Might just end up putting them in a pot, to be honest, until I've got a spot for them. I also got some Aranthis silicea. It says for woodlands. Obviously they are tiny, tiny bulbs, so it's not going to take much for me to dig a hole and put those in. Oh, I also got some mealworms for the birds. And as you saw while I was in the shop, I also got some seeds. It was 6 packets for £10 instead of, I think they were supposed to be £3 a packet. So I've got some zinnias in some lovely pastel colours. Cinderella lilac, that one. Nicotiana white trumpets, love the smell of those, they're amazing. I got some tagetes, strawberry blonde, gaura, the bride, which I think everybody probably knows, Sunflowers, I went for vanilla ice, although I might get some yellow ones as well. And some Eryngium, sea holly, superbum. Well, there you go. I didn't notice the name, but so I did have a sea holly in a pot, but I think it got too wet and died off. So that possibly will be grown for my gravel garden. What are we going to do today, Bonbon? Do we know? Do we know what we're going to do today? I think we're going to empty this dahlia out of its pot. It's the last one. It was the one that knocked back by frost. I knew there would be a positive to me not actually getting around to planting my rosemary yet. I'm going to take some cuttings off it and just mix in a little bit of vermiculite and stick a few cuttings around the edge of this pot so that I can get a lot more rosemary plants. Same can be done with lavender. Any cuttings, great time to do them. I forgot to say earlier, you know, the lavender, the rosemary, the dogwood, bay trees even. I mean, they're really expensive to buy. So lots of lovely perennials at the moment that you could be taking cuttings of. They like it free draining. Obviously, rosemary is a Mediterranean herb. They don't want to be wet. Take some cuttings, strip the lower leaves off, push them in around the edge. That is all there is to it. Super simple. Try and pick a stem that doesn't have flowers on it. This is a relatively new plant. I'm looking for something about 4 to 6 inches long. I tend to just leave a little tuft on the top like that. If you've got a hormone rooting powder, you could dip the end in, but I've never bothered with things like that. I literally just push them in around the edges. They won't all take. Some of them might die. In fact, the whole lot might die. But nothing ventured, nothing gained is what I always say. I can't quite believe this, but as you can see, there are actual new flowers on this lavender. I never got around to deadheading in the summer, but obviously it's been so mild this autumn that it's decided it needs to make new flowers. So actually finding a stem that doesn't have flower buds on it might actually be quite hard. And put them in the corners because that tends to be the warmest part, or around the edge of a pot is the warmest part, and they tend to grow better around the edges. You get the idea anyway. So if you can find stems that don't have flowers, all the better. I've just been out and cut some blackcurrant. They needed pruning anyway. I haven't pruned them fully, but if you're pruning, you might as well use the snippings to try and make some more plants. I'm going to probably have to move my blackcurrant bushes because they're in that old raised bed which is falling apart, but they work in exactly the same way. They might take a bit longer. I'm not even going to pull the buds off. I'm just going to push them in, firm them in, give them a little water, put a little bag on and leave them. If they die, they die. If they live, you've gained 6 new blackcurrant bushes. Now I did this with my gooseberries last year from my old garden, and I now have 2 reasonable sized gooseberry plants. With the last of this compost, I'm going to go and get some photinia cuttings. As you can see, these are very leafy, and these are new wood because it's much brighter in colour. I am going to cut off the lower leaves. Another great winter job is sharpening all your tools and cleaning them, so I do need to do that as well. Sometimes there's a bud in the joint of the leaf. Be careful you don't damage that because that's where new leaves would grow from. So you need it close to the stem, but not so close that you damage any future bud. You want to reduce the leaf as much as possible because it has nothing to maintain the moisture. It'll be an interesting experiment, if nothing else, to see if hardly any leaf, big leaf, medium-sized leaf, which ones, if any, grow. Right, should we take these things up to the top of the garden? Yeah, let's do that. So having done my little shop yesterday, I'm going to go up to the top of the woodland, plant those new bulbs that I just bought and get some mulch on. Take my new little plant and we'll head on up to the woodland. Right, here we are again. So I picked up 3 bags of bark mulch yesterday. Right, so I think I'm going to put the Tiarella there. It just makes a little mound, likes deep shade. And I'm going to get those other bulbs planted. I'm not going to bore you with planting more things in the woodland. I think that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. It's much appreciated. Thanks for joining me. See you next week.